Hi, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of the Functional Enough podcast. I'm Grace, and this podcast is all about lived experiences with complex post-traumatic stress disorder, or CPTSD, and bipolar disorder. This is not a self-help show. It's not a recovery story. It's just honesty about what it's like to live with these conditions. And if you've ever felt like your brain doesn't follow the same rules as everyone else's, or that your mood, your energy, your emotions feel so intense, they're confusing or out of control, then you might be in the right place, in the right community. And just a quick note before we start, when I talk about bipolar disorder, I'm talking about a condition that affects how your mood, energy, sleep, and thinking change over time. And when I talk about CPTSD, I mean the effects of long-term trauma on the nervous system, how someone feels safe, how they react to situations, and how they connect with others. Living with both of these things means that these experiences are going to overlap and influence each other, and that's the lens that this podcast comes from. So for the first episode, I am going to probably only do one question because I'm going to give a little bit of background about myself and my own mental health journey. And just so you guys know, in any of these episodes, I'm not going to overly detail my personal trauma, not just for your sake, but also for my sake. I try to focus on the effects of the trauma that I then have to work through, such as like the patterns I develop because of them and how I work through that, rather than focusing on the actual traumatic event itself. I'm not here to trigger anybody or myself. So if you're here, there's a good chance that you've asked yourself some version of what is actually wrong with me, or maybe why does my brain feel like this when I feel like I'm trying so hard. You've tried medications, you've tried therapy, you've tried the natural remedies of working out, changing your diet, taking vitamins, whatever the case may be, and you still feel like you're not getting somewhere. So this podcast exists because I couldn't find many honest answers to those questions, especially for people living with both CPTSD and bipolar disorder, and not textbook answers, not motivational quotes. It was just a lot of medical jargon, which is helpful. Like, I do like to understand the science behind what's happening in my brain, but there's something different about connecting with somebody that truly actually gets what it's like to live with these disorders. So even though my bipolar or my PTSD might look different, we might have different triggers or different coping mechanisms, I bet we can find some common ground in how these disorders make us feel, especially, the feelings of shame or embarrassment or guilt. And again, this is not a self-help show. It's not a recovery story because I am not fully healed. I don't believe anybody ever is. You should always be striving to look at yourself, with a closer look, and trying to heal the parts of yourself that maybe are bad patterns or responses to trauma. So I'm not here to tell you how to fix yourself. I'm here to talk honestly about what it's like to live inside this kind of brain, what helps me, what doesn't help me, what I feel like some people get wrong about these disorders, and what I'm still trying to figure out myself. So a lot of this podcast will be answering real questions people are often afraid to ask out loud, whether that's about relationships, medications, memory, anger, shame, working, safety in your own body, and the gray area between bipolar and PTSD symptoms overlapping. So if you ever felt like your experiences don't quite fit the neat explanations, if you've been told you're too much, or you're not trying hard enough, or you're lazy, unmotivated, or that you're doing fine when you don't feel fine, this is a safe place for you, okay? I promise you that. And I can't promise clarity every episode. I can't promise I'm going to have the answers, but I can promise honesty. I can promise community and companionship, and that you'll at least have me, as somebody that's a complete stranger to you maybe, but you'll have me in your corner because I know what it's like to feel like I don't have anybody in my corner when you're going through these types of emotions. So I am really glad you're here, and I hope you stick around. So a little background on my mental health journey, again, without detailing my trauma too much, just kind of a general synopsis. I am currently 27 years old. I was diagnosed with depression around the age of 13. I went on medications as a teenager and was on and off antidepressants from age 14 until I was 22. And those things didn't work because, unbeknownst to me, I was bipolar, and the medications I was being prescribed were not the medications that I needed to help my brain chemistry. I was diagnosed with PTSD when I was 20, and again, without going into too much detail, I had repressed memories that surfaced that actually led to my father going to jail. My dad and I were very close, so this was a very traumatic experience for me. I also developed a lot of trauma from previous relationships because naturally, as somebody who was insecure myself and traumatized, I gravitated towards toxic relationships that were not good for me and were really harmful for me. I started therapy in 2021 and have been doing weekly therapy since then. I did try it previously as a kid, but unfortunately the therapist that I was seeing when I was a kid passed away suddenly, and after that I did not want to go. So I did not go again until 2021, and again, still something that I do. I haven't seen my therapist in like a month, but that's for other reasons we have going on, to scheduling issues. But I believe being in therapy has helped me a ton in the last couple of years. So I thought that, this was normal for me to feel this way, despite none of it feeling normal, because I went to doctors. I tried to explain that I couldn't get out of bed, I could barely shower or, take care of my own personal hygiene, that I wasn't eating, that I couldn't concentrate, that I was not doing well. And I wasn't getting anywhere with the providers that I was seeing. So it wasn't until 2025 that I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder type 1 after experiencing an episode of psychosis. I had auditory hallucinations, visual and tactile hallucinations. And looking back, there were definitely signs I was approaching the point of psychosis in the months leading up, such as decreased need for sleep, racing thoughts, impulsive spending, paranoia. I was having all these grand ideas of things I wanted to do with my life that I never had any intention on following through on, but I got so fixated on them for a short period of time. The only reason that I was not hospitalized during this was because my partner was able to have off work, and she worked in healthcare, so she was there to take care of me, to make sure I was safe. And looking back, I probably did need to be in the hospital, but I was really resistant to this. And it's not to say that in the future I wouldn't, go to the hospital if I felt like I needed to, but in this situation, I did not. And this whole episode lasted about 3 months from the point of psychosis to the depression afterwards. So I had to take a lot of time off work. So there was more stress involved with that, and finances. And stress was a really big trigger for my first bad episode. So currently now I'm on several different medications. So I take 2 mood stabilizers and an antipsychotic, and then I take a couple other medications as well, and vitamins. So those are my main, bipolar medications. And I continue to learn about both of these conditions as much as possible, because if I can understand them better, they aren't as scary to me, and I can't make them go away, but I can try to manage them better and learn to cope with them the best that I can, and also learn about them so that I can educate other people around me so they know kind of what to expect from me depending on what stage of my cycle I am currently in, and if I'm at baseline or not. So that's just a little kind of background about me and my mental health journey that I am, again, still on currently. So we'll get into today's question. So like I said, normally I'll do a couple questions, but today for the first one, I'm just going to start with one. And it is, how can I explain my diagnosis to my friends or partners? Telling anyone that you have these disorders can be really scary. Okay. It's really common for people to be open about having depression or anxiety, but when you have something like schizoaffective or bipolar disorder or borderline personality disorder, it can be really scary to be vulnerable enough to tell other people about them, because not a lot of people really know what those disorders are really like. I even had a misconception about bipolar disorder, and I worked in healthcare and had patients that had this disorder before. And I still realized that there was so much that I didn't know about it. So you worry about how people might react. You don't want to be labeled as crazy or have people treat you differently or treat you like you're fragile, or think that you're gonna like fly off the handle for no reason, because sometimes people think that just because you're bipolar, you're gonna, go through all the different moods in the span of like a couple hours, and that's not really how that works. Some people it's a couple days, some people it's weeks, some people it's months. It just really depends. But it is kind of a misconception that you're gonna go from manic, to psychosis to depressed within like a day. But I do get the feeling of being scared of how your loved ones might react. I was embarrassed and ashamed at first, but then I found that the people in my life that truly mattered just wanted to understand me better so they could support me. So it was important for them to know things like mood shifts and bipolar can come quickly. So sometimes the transition from depression to hypomania or mania may not be that much time. So you may show up differently on a day-to-day basis. But again, this really depends on how your bipolar cycles. Trauma reactions from CPTSD can show up as anxiety, anger, emotional shutdown, or hypervigilance. So it's important for the people around you and your loved ones to know that. And it's important that they don't take these reactions personally. It's usually about that traumatized person's brain or body responding, and it's not about the loved one or the friend. With bipolar disorder, these are not just mood swings. Everyone experiences mood swings. Everyone experiences stress. Everyone experiences life. So we all have had bad moods sometimes. But with bipolar disorder, these shifts can change how you think, how you act, how you make decisions, and they can be intense or hard to control. I've heard from people that having bipolar, when they were manic or in psychosis, quite literally almost ruined their life. Like they were arrested for charges that they, did things when they were in psychosis they don't remember. They ruin relationships. So it is scary. CPTSD often makes people wary of others, especially in relationships where they've been hurt. So it's important for that other person or that partner to respect boundaries, give consistency, and avoiding trying to pull them closer too rapidly or too intensely, because that's probably going to make them pull away from you more, because now they're kind of on high alert. Be patient if they forget things. Okay, my girlfriend is really patient with me with my memory. Trauma, bipolar, and the medications for these things can all affect your memory. So I feel like I have the memory of like a goldfish, and my long-term memory is not that bad, but my short-term memory, I feel like Dory from Finding Nemo sometimes. So it's important for them to know that. Be patient. They might have to repeat stuff to you. It's not that they're not listening or don't care what you have to say. Our memories just truly kind of suck. It's important to know that support doesn't mean fixing. Okay, so your friends, your loved ones may be the type of people that they want to fix the problem that you are presenting to them or the feeling, when that might not be what we need. They may not want advice. They may just want to be heard, validated, or simply just acknowledged for having the feelings that they're having. And then it's important to communicate warning signs. So in order for you to communicate warning signs, you have to be aware of your warning signs, and that can take some time. I'm still learning some of my own. I know for me, like when I need less sleep, my speech gets more rapid. I start having more impulsive decisions. Like I just started a podcast. The only reason why I followed through on it and didn't mark it off as just an impulsive decision was because I've wanted to do this for a while. And even at baseline, it's something that I've wanted to do. But I've had plenty of decisions that I was going to make, like very large ones that I went with just because I was manic and in the moment thought it was a good idea. And then for trauma trigger, sudden anger or panic or disassociation. So that's important for you to know if you have a loved one with bipolar or with PTSD, that they can have these, kind of episodes of sudden anger or panic or actually disassociate, because when your body is traumatized, your brain kind of tries to separate what's going on in your brain to what's happening in your body. So you have that kind of mind-body disassociation. So I'm here to say that you do not have to do this alone. Okay, there are people in your life that want to be there for you. And if you feel like you don't have that, you have that with me. Okay, no matter how many states away we live, if we only interact on the internet, that is fine. Just know that you always have support. And I will always do my best to be there for the people that feel like they don't have anyone to show up for them, because I know what that feels like. These disorders can feel really isolating, and no, not everyone will be able to truly understand what it's like to have bipolar or PTSD. Even the people that have them themselves, it may be different for them, but I bet you do probably have some things in common with other people that have these disorders, and you're not alone in feeling some of the ways that I feel or other people with these disorders feel. And I bet you'd be surprised how many people in your life want you to open up to them if you're struggling, and they want to know more about how your brain works so they can be there to support you. You do not have to suffer in silence, okay? So thank you guys for listening. If anything in this episode brought something up for you, please take care of yourself in whatever way you need right now. I'm learning as I go too, and we're in this together. If you'd like to submit questions, you can email me at functionalenough.submit@gmail.com. So again, that's functionalenough, all one word, .submit@gmail.com. You can also just comment on the video as well. The questions will remain anonymous unless you would like me to use your name, but otherwise I'm just going to make them all anonymous. No question is too messy or complicated. I might not have the answer to it, but I might be able to share an experience, or at least make you feel like seen and heard and understood, because that is really my goal here. I'm here to build a community. I'm not here to act like I know all the answers or to give you just advice on how to fix your life, because I would also like advice on that too. So again, you guys aren't alone, and I hope that I see you guys next time.